Winning Blueprint presents.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. It's Friday. 3 days remaining until Super Bowl 47. We're on the grandest stage, the grandest of them all, Super Bowl. Everyone loves the Super Bowl. Even non-football fans tune in just for the commercials. It's that big of an event. This thing transcends all kinds of culture, pop culture, football fans. This is a big event. Even if you don't like football, you don't care for the commercials, you're tuning in to watch the halftime show with Beyonce. This is a big deal. And this is going to be a really good Super Bowl. We've got two teams that I think really mirror each other. Very physical football teams that need to run the football to be successful. Have quarterbacks with very strong arms that can push the ball down the field. This is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a very competitive football game. I can't wait. Or as it was put so eloquently by Bart Scott, can't wait. This is it. The waiting is over. This is it. We're almost there. The whole culmination of the 2012-2013 season is right before us. This is it. Everything that all the teams in the National Football League have worked towards will be decided on Sunday evening between the San Francisco 49ers, your NFC Conference champions, and the Baltimore Ravens, your AFC Conference champions. It's going to be a great clash. Have you had enough of the Harbaugh talk? Have you had enough? Have you had your Harbaugh brothers fix today? Hope you've had your cup overrunneth, because mine was full a long time ago. I know you're probably at this point tired of hearing about it. You're almost there. The finish line is right in front of your face. You can see it. You just can't touch it yet. You can't reach out and grab it, but you're getting very close. I think these two teams really mirror each other, but I think there are some distinct differences. One, to me, the biggest of them all is the fact that the Ravens are a veteran-laden team. They have guys on their roster that know this is it. If I don't win it this time, I may never get another opportunity. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Anquan Bolden, Matt Burke. There's some guys on this roster, and you look at and you say, hey, they've been at it for a long time. They've been in this league for a very long time. And they know that I don't know if I'll get another opportunity. When you play that long in the National Football League, you really start to appreciate the finer things. And every opportunity that you get, you feel like I have to seize this opportunity because I may never get it again. I feel like the San Francisco 49ers are a very young football team. Not to say that they don't have guys on their roster that aren't itching to get a Super Bowl championship, that aren't running out of time. Justin Smith is running out of time, but he's the elder statesman of that team. There's not a lot of Justin Smiths on the San Francisco 49ers roster. This roster is filled out by a lot of young, talented players who feel like, hey, we should have been here last year. We're here this year. We'll be back again. The Ravens don't have that kind of mentality. This is a get it done now or else mentality. And I think that it's going to serve the Ravens well in this game. Not saying that the Ravens want to win more than the San Francisco 49ers. That's not what I'm saying. The desperation is there in Baltimore, more so than it is for the 49ers. I feel like the 49ers have a Dan Marino type mentality. Remember, Dan Marino got to the Super Bowl in his second season with the Dolphins, And he felt like, hey, man, we didn't get it this time. I'll be back. I'm relatively young. We're going to get back here. And he never got to that point again. I feel like the 49ers are at that point where they feel like we're here and we're going to be around for a while. And they feel like they're going to make several trips to this Super Bowl. And that may be the case. But for the Ravens, they don't have that same mentality. They are thinking it's now or never. We don't win it now. And really it is for a lot of these guys. For Matt Burke, he's been playing 15, 16 years in the NFL. When is he getting another shot at this? This may be it for Matt Burke. For Ray Lewis, we know this is it. He's already got one Super Bowl championship, but this is it. This is his opportunity to ride off into the sunset. This is what he's been sticking around for the last 3-4 seasons. For a shot at winning a Super Bowl champion. To go out on top. Here it is. Right before him. This is it. He won't get another opportunity because he said already this is his last ride. So this is it. He's retiring. So this is it for Ray Lewis. For Ed Reed, how many times have we sat at the end of a season for the Ravens and watched as Ed Reed sat on the field dejected with that hazy look, with that glazed stare as the other team is on the field celebrating, going on. And Ed Reed is just sitting there in disbelief as he watches his dream of winning a Super Bowl disintegrate before his eyes. How many times have we watched Ed Reed sit on the field and contemplate to himself, can I continue to pick myself up off the field and do this again? You could see the losses in the playoffs starting to eat away at Ed Reed's drive and desire to want to play this game. It hurts when you get this far. I watched America's game, the Minnesota Vikings from 1998. And Chris Carter said after that loss in the playoffs to the Atlanta Falcons, he didn't know if he could play football anymore. It hurt that much. Ed Reed seems to look that way after every season when the Ravens don't make it to the Super Bowl. He's finally getting his opportunity. You don't think Ed Reed wants to seize this opportunity? He knows it took me this long to get here. I may never get back. Anquan Bolden, he's getting an opportunity that many don't get in the National Football League. A second chance to do something that he didn't get a chance to do the first time. Anquan Bolden felt like he had a Super Bowl stolen from him. Just a few years ago, when he was a member of the Arizona Cardinals and they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Steelers offense took the ball down on a last-second drive and won the game. Snatched a Super Bowl victory from his grasp. Now he's getting a chance at redemption. Most guys don't get that second opportunity. You lose that first time, you never get a chance to do it over again and get the win. Anquan Bolden is getting a chance to rectify in his mind what was wrong in the first place. He can get himself a Super Bowl ring. He's been doing this a long time. There isn't a tomorrow for the Ravens. At least at the surface, it doesn't appear to be. And I think that's going to help the Ravens. 49ers, they got a young group. They're a relatively young team who feels like, hey, we want to win. This is definitely a goal of theirs. They want to win. But I know in the back of many of these players' minds, hey, this is nice. They're taking it in, and they're really enjoying the experience, but I think they're taking it for granted. And it's easy for me to say because I don't know what's in the minds of those 49ers players, but I tell you what, when you haven't been in the league that long and you get to go to the Super Bowl, it's a feeling like no other. I'm pretty sure of that. I haven't experienced it myself, but I'm pretty sure it's a feeling like no other. But you also feel like, hey, I could get used to this. This is something that I feel like I should be able to do at least 2 or 3 more times in my career. And it doesn't always work out that way. But they don't see it as that. They have a wide lens focus right now. Hey, we're here this year. Let's win it now and let's come back and do it again. Whereas the Ravens, it's narrow. It's as narrow as it can get. Let's get it done now because if we don't, we may not be back. And for the guys like Joe Flacco and Torrey Smith and Ray Rice, they're thinking, hey, we can get back here. But make no mistake about it. The veterans, like a Terrell Suggs, they're in the ears of those guys, the Torrey Smiths, the Ray Rices, the Joe Flaccos, and they're telling them, hey, we may not get another chance at this thing. We got to win, and we got to win now. And so I think that's going to really serve the Ravens well in this football game. So this episode of In the Lab Room, this Friday edition, is a special Super Bowl edition. This is it. It's all Ravens, all 49ers, all Super Bowl 47. Nothing else. So let's get to the breakdown portion of this episode and talk about the breakdown of the game, what each team needs to do to have themselves hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. So, without any further ado, let's get to the breakdown portion of this episode. Breakdown. Still breaking this all down. Breakdown. Gonna break down these teams. Starting with the Baltimore Ravens. What do the Ravens need to do to win this football game? For me, it's not simple, but I think it's a game plan that the Ravens have won with in the past. And you look at the postseason this year, and you look at Joe Flacco, and you see all the touchdowns, no interceptions, and you're thinking, hey, the Ravens are really slinging the ball around the field. And they are. But what has been very impressive with this Ravens group in the postseason is they found a offensive line that seems to be cohesive, even though they haven't really played together all season long. They've got a group together that are really blocking well. And not just for Joe Flacco and keeping him upright. They are run blocking, and I think that's the key for the Ravens in this game. First and foremost, run the football. Now, of course, I've said it all season long, and this really goes without mentioning, but I'm going to say it anyway, just because I didn't mention it. People might think that I'm not saying that that's a big part of this game. Don't turn the football over. That goes for both teams, 49ers and Ravens. I'm talking about the Ravens right now, but this goes for both teams. Don't turn the football over. You turn the football over, that's the quickest way for you to lose this football game. The Ravens are here because they haven't turned the football over for the most part. They haven't been the team that's been shooting themselves in the foot. They let the other teams do that they've been playing against. They haven't been the one to turn the football over. So they have to continue to do that. Take care of the football. But that really goes without saying, but I had to say it anyway, just in case you thought that I was bypassing that. I'm not. Don't turn the football over. But the Ravens need to run the football. They ran it well against the Colts. And really, it wasn't even Ray Rice in that game. That game was Bernard Pierce carrying the load for the Ravens, and he did a heck of a job doing it, going over 100 yards rushing. But against the Denver Broncos, Ray Rice ran the football effectively. Against the New England Patriots, Ray Rice ran the football effectively. They need to run the football again. They need to establish the run early in this football game, like they did against the Denver Broncos. Even if you punt, like you did against the Broncos, establish that you're going to run the ball with Ray Rice. When the Ravens get lost, when they were lost in this season, when they couldn't find their way and get into the winning column, it was because Ray Rice wasn't touching the football enough. It's a known fact that when Ray Rice touches the football, when he's rushing the ball, when he's catching it out of the backfield, when Ray Rice is involved with this offense is hard to stop. And the Ravens need to make sure that Ray Rice is getting his adequate touches in this game. That's first and foremost. Second, they need to keep Joe Flacco clean. The 49ers are a team that can get to your quarterback if you do not protect him. Aldon Smith, we know what he was able to do this season. He's been in a little bit of a drought of late, but don't let this be the game that he wakes up. He's been a sleeping beast for a while here. Don't start poking him with a stick. Allow him to wake up and cause havoc in this game. Justin Smith, he's a little banged up, but he's going to give it everything he has in this game because he knows this could be his last opportunity to play for a Super Bowl championship. So you're going to get everything he's got. Protect Joe Flacco. You keep Joe Flacco upright. Allow him to scan the field because there are holes in this San Francisco 49ers defense. Don't kid yourself into thinking that this 49ers defense cannot be had. If you watch that game against the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC Championship game, you can't tell me that you didn't see that there were gaping holes in this San Francisco 49ers defense. They can be exploited. But you need time, you need protection, and you need a quarterback that can deliver the football down the field. Well, Joe Flacco can do that. This offensive line has proven against some teams that can get after your quarterback that they can protect Joe Flacco. They need to do that in this game. Also, the Ravens need to make sure that there's balance spreading the football around. Torrey Smith needs to be involved. And they need to take some shots, loosen this defense up, make them aware that they can and they will take shots. You want them to think that, hey, there's no problem with Torrey Smith going up top and us taking the lid off this defense and Joe Flacco delivering the football. Joe Flacco can throw the football 50, 60 yards down the field and get it to him in stride. And so you've seen it against the Broncos. You've seen him go down the field in the Patriots game and get it done. So if you are the Baltimore Ravens, you want to establish that. Don't be afraid to take a shot early in this game just to loosen up and put the San Francisco 49ers defense on notice. Hey, we're going to take some shots. Once you start doing that, then you start working the underneath stuff. Start going to Anquan Bolden on that 14-yard dig route. Start going to Ray Rice on a stick route underneath. Start utilizing these tight ends, Pitta and Dixon. Utilize the full complement of receivers, tight ends, and backs that you have. Don't rely on one guy. Spread the football around. Make this offense unpredictable. When you get the 49ers on their heels, they're just like any other defense in the National Football League. When they're confused and they don't know what's coming next, they're vulnerable. When the 49ers can start to predict what you're going to do, they can start turning the dogs loose. All of a sudden now you find yourself in 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11. Those are the danger zones. You don't want to find yourself in 3rd and long against this San Francisco 49ers team. That's when they're the most dangerous. That's when you are in trouble. If you're the Ravens, stay in 3rd and manageable. Stay ahead of down and distance. Get 3 on 1st down. Get 4 on 2nd down. Keep it at 3rd and 3. Get 2 on 1st down. Get 4 on 2nd down. Get it to 3rd and 4. Stay ahead of down and distance. You start getting to 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12. You're in trouble. The San Francisco 49ers have you right where they want you. Stay away from the penalties. If you're the Ravens are a team that can get up there with the penalties. Stay away from the personal foul penalties. Defensively, this is a team that can get personal foul penalties. Bernard Pollard is a guy that is always flagged for, excessive hits to the head and defenseless receiver penalties. Stay away from those things. You can't afford to give up free opportunities in this game. If you're the Baltimore Ravens, you have to stay in your rush lanes. First and foremost, contain Frank Gore. Don't allow the 49ers to win this game on the ground. They were an excellent rushing team in the season. Don't allow them to control this game with the ground game. If you're going to lose this game, let it be on the arm of Colin Kaepernick. Make that young fella beat you. If he beats you, you tip your cap to him, you move on and say we got beat by the better team. But if you allow Frank Gore to dominate, then Colin Kaepernick starts running and all of a sudden read option becomes a problem. Now you have a problem on your hands and you're probably not going to win this football game. Stop the run. Make Colin Kaepernick prove to you that this stage isn't too big for him. Make him prove to you that he can beat you. If he does it, so be it. That's the keys to the game for the Baltimore Ravens. Nothing cheap, nothing deep. Don't give up anything over the top to a Randy Moss, to a Ted Ginn. Don't let anyone sneak in the game and get off. If they're going to beat you, make them work for everything they get. No big returns. Don't let LaMichael James come in and steal the show, get a 96-yard kickoff return. You guys were gashed against the Denver Broncos by Trendon Holiday and that Denver Broncos special teams unit. This isn't the stage for that to happen again. You need to make sure you shore things up on special teams. Don't allow anything to come easy to the San Francisco 49ers team. You do those things, you'll find yourself in this ballgame with a chance to win in the 4th quarter. And as we all know, that's all you can ask for in the National Football League, is a chance to win the game in the 4th quarter. For the 49ers, it's much of the same. They need to run the football. And again, don't turn it over. That's first and foremost. Don't turn it over. Take care of the football. Do the things that have landed you in this game in the first place. Run the football. You've been a run-dominant team all year long. This is not the time to try to change your stripes. You are a run-dominated football team. Run the football. Run Frank Gore. Run LaMichael James. Run Colin Kaepernick. Do the things that have gotten you to this point. Don't try to change it up and outsmart yourself. Don't try to outsmart the Ravens and while doing so, outsmart yourself. Do the things that have gotten you to this point. And the main thing has been running the football. When you struggled against the Atlanta Falcons and that game seemed to be getting out of hand, what was the one saving grace? What was the one thing that you could turn to get you back into that football game? Running the football. If you are the San Francisco 49ers, establish the run. You do that, all the other avenues will open up. The floodgates will open. If you can start running Frank Gore, all of a sudden that read option is a huge, huge advantage. Because now they have to respect Frank Gore. And they already come into the game respecting what Frank Gore can do. All of a sudden now, you pull it out of his belly and Colin Kaepernick takes off. Now they have a problem on their hands. You allow them to bottle up that run game though. And all of a sudden now, play action fake isn't as strong. The read option isn't as big of an option. And now it's all on the shoulders of Colin Kaepernick. And that's the one thing you don't want to have happen in this game. Because we've seen that he can get it done. But you don't want to see that in this game. This isn't the time for you to be trying to prove a point that your quarterback can get it done. Yes, we think he can. You probably know he can. But we don't need to figure that out in this game. Run the football. Colin Kaepernick has to spread the ball around. I'm a fan that watches these games, and I can tell you, without watching the film closely, and I have been, so I'm cheating, but I'm telling you, even if you haven't, even if you're a L.A.B fan and has just been watching the playoffs, haven't went back and watched any of these games more than once, haven't watched Colin Kaepernick through the regular season, you can still tell who he likes throwing the football to. It's no secret. He likes throwing the ball to Michael Crabtree. He likes throwing the ball to Delaney Walker. Spread the wealth around. Please don't be predictable in this game. Because don't think for 1 second the Ravens don't know that you like to throw the ball to Michael Crabtree more than anyone else. They don't think the Ravens haven't picked up on the key that you like throwing the ball to Delaney Walker as well. Don't be afraid to use Vernon Davis, to use Randy Moss. Don't be afraid to sneak the fullback into the game and give him a couple touches. Don't be afraid to dump it down to Gore or to LaMichael James. Spread the wealth around. Don't be predictable. I said the same thing about the Ravens. Don't allow the opposing defense to dictate to you what's going to occur. If you are the 49ers, stay ahead of down and distance. I said the same thing about the Ravens. Stay ahead of down and distance. Don't allow this thing to turn into 3rd and 12, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9. Stay in 3rd and 4. Everything is available to you in the playbook. And if you run the football, this should not be a problem. This should be something that you should be able to achieve with relative ease. If you run the football the way you've been running it all season long, you won't find yourself in 3rd and 9s, 3rd and 12s, 3rd and 7s. You'll find yourself in 3rd and manageable all game long. Run play action fake to its best ability. Use the play action fake. If you run the ball the way you're supposed to, the play action game will be there. This Ravens defense can be had in the play action fake game. But you have to establish the run first. There will be some gaping holes in this Ravens defense. This is not the 2000 Ravens defense. This isn't even the 2008 Ravens defense. This is the 2012 edition. And this 2012 edition can be had. And it can be had big time. Now look, they've been better over the last 3 weeks in the postseason. But that does not change the fact that you can make some plays on this defense. If you can pass protect, and we know your line can do that. If you can run block, we know your line can do that. And if you can take care of the ball and do the things that have gotten you to this point, you should be able to run play action fake, find Crabtree, find Randy Moss, find Vernon Davis, find Delaney Walker, find guys wide open, and Colin Kaepernick has to hit them. On defense, if you're the San Francisco 49ers, it's simple. Rattle Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is one of these quarterbacks in the league that he does not respond to pressure well. And that goes for most quarterbacks in the league. Some quarterbacks, They still get it done. They can stare down the gun barrel, take a shot, and deliver the football. Joe Flacco is not one of those quarterbacks. You start getting to Joe Flacco, you start covering up receivers, and he has to hold on to the ball longer than he wants to. Joe Flacco is a guy that he wants to go to his first read. He'll stay on that first read a lot longer than he needs to, sometimes to a fault. If you can get Joe Flacco to hold on to the ball, get that extra pat, you can force some turnovers. And if you're San Francisco, first and foremost, you need to cover in the secondary. Don't allow guys to run free. You give Joe Flacco an inch of daylight, he'll zoom it in there. He has one of the strongest arms in the National Football League. So you need to stick to these receivers like glue. They only have one guy that can really run by you. That's Torrey Smith. The rest of these guys, they're crafty. They know how to get open. They use their size. They use their smarts. And they're savvy to get open. Stick to these guys like glue. If you're in man-to-man coverage, stick to these guys. If not, if you're in zone, follow them until they get out of your zone. Make Joe Flacco think that these guys are covered. Put up a mirage. Make him see something that's not there. Hold on to the ball too long. Allow Alden Smith and company to get to him. And Joe Flacco can be loose with the football. You can force a fumble. You can get him to throw it errantly and force him into mistakes. That's what you need to do on defense. And the first thing that you need to do is stop the run. If they establish the run, now other avenues are going to be open for Joe Flacco. That same play action fake that I'm talking to you about will be available to the Ravens. You need to make sure that you corral Ray Rice in that Ravens run game. You're able to do that, you'll be able to establish the line of scrimmage and force Joe Flacco to beat you. And look, at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want to make the other team have to take to the air to beat you. Nothing's worse than being beat to a pulp on the ground. You stop the run game, you get to Joe Flacco, this game is yours. You allow the Ravens to run, you allow Joe Flacco to pick you apart, you could be in for a long day. On special teams, get some. The Ravens can be had on special teams. Well, Michael James is dynamic. Get you some if you're the San Francisco 49ers. Do some special game planning to open up some holes. The Ravens can be had on special teams. Don't let Jacoby Jones get you. Because if you're not careful, all it takes is one hole for him to accelerate and give you one of those. Don't let Jacoby Jones be the difference in this game. I said earlier that they only had one guy that could get you. Add Jacoby Jones to that list. Do not let the Ravens have anything deep. Nothing cheap, nothing deep. That goes for both teams. Nothing cheap, nothing deep. And for the 49ers, one last thing on offense. Use the read option. The Ravens are terrified of it. They're talking about it for a reason. They don't want to see the read option. Of course, they're going to spend a ton of time on it during the week. Whose responsibility is this and that? When the game is actually being played on the field and the adrenaline gets pumping and all of a sudden Frank Gore is smacking them in the face with 7 and 9 and 11-yard runs, that assignment football goes out of the window. Guys are going to start rallying to the football. All of a sudden, that back door is open on the bootleg. All of a sudden, on that read option, Colin Kaepernick has been sprung free. Use read option to your advantage. You do these things, and just like I said for the Ravens, you will have an opportunity to win this game in the fourth quarter. Okay, so there's the breakdown. Breakdown. Just finished the breakdown. Now let's get into the tale of the tape. Let's see how these two teams stack up against each other. All right. Now this is subjective. Again, to each its own. This is my tale of the tape. Your tale of the tape might look very different. It may be very similar. Who knows? This is the tale of the tape from my lens, from my perspective, from my point of view. So here it is. The tale of the tape. 49ers, Ravens. Quarterback. Who's got the upper hand? You got the young upstart in Colin Kaepernick in the San Francisco 49ers. You got Joe Flacco, the seasoned veteran, the guy that's been here time and time again. Hasn't been on this stage, but he's proven that he can get it done. I'm taking Joe Flacco on this one. Joe Flacco is the guy that's done this postseason thing year in, year out. He's been to the postseason just about every season, if not every single season. He's been in the National Football League. He's won a game every time he's been in the postseason. He's the guy that you can count on when the game is on the line. Give me Joe Flacco. Now look, Colin Kaepernick, he's a young guy, ultra talented. But how many starts does he have under his belt? Like 6 or 7? I'm going with Joe Flacco on this one. Check for the Ravens. Quarterback. Running game. Overall running game. I love Ray Rice. I like Bernard Pierce. I love what the Ravens have been doing in this postseason running the football. But they pale in comparison to this San Francisco 49ers run game. Frank Gore. LaMichael James is just scratching the surface. Colin Kaepernick, you sprinkle him into this run game. The 49ers were second in the league in rushing. There's no doubt here. Check for the San Francisco 49ers. Offensive line. The Ravens just figured this thing out. Took them all the way until the postseason to figure out 5 guys who could get it done on the offensive line. Meanwhile, the San Francisco 49ers have had it figured out from day one. Their offensive line gets it, they've got it, and they're good. Check for the San Francisco 49ers. That's a no-brainer. So offensive line and running game go to the San Francisco 49ers. Go figure. Those two things go hand in hand. So we get to the wide receivers. Now, the 49ers have a hodgepodge of receivers. There's young and then there's old. There's talented. There's tough and gritty and then there's fast. There's Randy Moss. Then there's Michael Crabtree. There's Ted Ginn Jr. and then there's Kyle Williams. You're missing Mario Manningham. They have a lot of stuff. The Ravens have Anquan Bolden. He's as dependable as it gets from the wide receiver position. They have Torrey Smith, a guy that can take the top off the defense. He can go up and jump and leap with the best of them as well. You sprinkle in a little bit of Jacoby Jones. Every now and again, Tandon Dawes can leap up and get you. I'm taking the Ravens on this one because Crabtree has been ultra effective since Colin Kaepernick has stepped in. But after Michael Crabtree, who's the guy that scares you at wide receiver? None of those guys do. Even Randy Moss, to a certain degree, has been really lessened in his impact since joining the 49ers because they don't really run him deep that often. I'm going with the Ravens because I know what I'm getting from Anquan Bolden. I throw it in his direction. Generally, he's going to come down with the football. I know what I'm getting from Torrey Smith. I send him deep, and if your corner is flat-footed at all, he's going to run by him. Joe Flacco's going to hit him in stride, and they're going to score a touchdown. I know what I'm getting from Jacoby Jones. He's a guy that can be unreliable at times, but you can't sleep on him because the speed is there, and he can catch the football. Ask the Denver Broncos. They found out the hard way. So you got 3 guys that you can throw the football to, and they can make a play for you. And then you have a wild card in Tandon Dawes. Going with the Ravens. Check. There's just not enough tangible evidence for me to pick the 49ers at receiver. So we move on to tight ends. And to me, this is a no-brainer. You check it off for the 49ers. I really don't even need to explain to you why they have a better tight end group. Both of these teams have 2 solid tight ends. Pitta and Dixon for the Ravens. Davis and Walker for the 49ers. But Davis and Walker, they get it done. You don't know what you're getting game to game from Ed Dixon. You don't know if he's going to have 6 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown or 1 catch for 7 yards, no touchdowns. You don't know what you're getting from Ed Dixon from game to game. Dennis Pitta is becoming very reliable for the Baltimore Ravens. He's a guy that game in, game out, you kind of know what you're getting from Dennis Pitta. On the 49ers side, we've seen what Vernon Davis can do. He took over in the playoffs last year against the New Orleans Saints. He can do that against anyone. He's a guy that's one of the fastest tight ends in the league. He's one of the most athletic tight ends in the league. If they get him more involved in his offense, they're going to be a problem on the San Francisco 49ers. Delaney Walker, he's just as athletic as Vernon Davis. Not as fast, but just as athletic. He's a monster. The 49ers win that hands down. Check to the 49ers for tight end. So as you look at these two teams' offense as a whole, you got to check it off for the 49ers. They won running game, offensive line, and tight end. The Ravens only won quarterback and receiver. And that's good. Those are two good categories to have. But as a whole, the San Francisco 49ers just have more of a well-rounded offense. So they win that as well. Check for the San Francisco 49ers for offense as a whole. So we turn the attention to the defensive side of the football. And we start at the D-line. The San Francisco 49ers have a dominant group up front. McDonald, Justin Smith. They can get after you defensively from this defensive line position. But I'm taking the Ravens here. Give me Arthur Jones. Give me McPhee. Give me Haloti Ngata. Give me Terrell Suggs. I'll take that any day. Give me the Ravens defensive line. Check for the Ravens. Linebacker, does it get any better in the National Football League than the San Francisco 49ers at the linebacker position? We're talking about 2 All-Pros, 3 if you want to add in Aldon Smith, and the one guy that they omit, Ahmad Brooks, is just as important as the other 3. I'm not even going to explain to you why this is the selection that I'm making. Just know that I'm checking off the 49ers linebacker core. Cornerback. The Ravens, when the season started, I probably would have gave them the upper hand here. You look at the injuries that they've sustained, and the Ravens have come down a notch in the secondary department. They were supposed to have Ladarius Webb. Jimmy Smith was supposed to be further along by now. Instead, it's just Kerry Williams, and he's a really good corner. And then they have Corey Graham, who has emerged as a very solid corner. But these are guys that are supposed to be your 2 and your 3s respectively, not your 1s and your 2s. You look across at the San Francisco 49ers, and they have all of their stuff in place where it's supposed to be. Carlos Rogers is out there. He's very worrisome. If you're a quarterback, you have to be careful around Carlos Rogers. He probably won't catch it, but he'll be around the football. Chris Culliver has emerged as a guy that's around the football a lot. And don't forget about Tyrell Brown. This is a really good secondary. Check for the 49ers at the cornerback position. So now we find ourselves at the safety position. And the Ravens and 49ers are really very similar at this position. The 49ers have Dante Whitner. The Ravens have Bernard Pollard. They're one and the same. They're interchangeable. They're the same guy. They just have different names. They look different, but they play exactly the same. Not the best in coverage, but if you put them around the line of scrimmage or you tell them, hey, go be a heat-seeking missile, they're going to hit someone. So they cancel each other out. So now we're talking about Deshaun Golston versus Ed Reed. Is there a contest here? It's Ed Reed. We're talking about a future Hall of Famer. Deshaun Golston has been playing really good football the last 2 seasons. He's been playing at a Pro Bowl level, and he deserves a lot of respect. But we're talking about Ed Reed here. Future Hall of Famer, probably first ballot Hall of Famer. Check for the Ravens. So now we're talking defense as a whole. And again, this discussion doesn't really need to be even made. There's not an argument that you can make that I'd listen to that would convince me otherwise. The 49ers have the better defense overall. So check for the 49ers. Even though it's 2-2, the D-line and the safety position go to the Ravens. Cornerback and linebackers go to the 49ers, and it's not close. The 49ers have a distinct advantage at both corner and at linebacker. And it's not even close at the linebacker position. And look, the Ravens have some solid linebackers. I think Paul Kruger has established himself as a solid linebacker in the National Football League. Donnell Ellerbe, at times, he's playing out of his mind. But they pale in comparison to this 49ers linebacking core. And so I think that the 49ers are the better defense as a whole. So check for the 49ers defense as a whole. So now we get to special teams. LaMichael James flashed at the end of the season. And honestly, I don't know what the 49ers were waiting on in terms of giving LaMichael James the opportunity to show what he can do. This was a guy that was a speedster in college. You saw the athleticism. You saw the ability to make plays and be a game changer. I don't know what took them so long to give him the opportunity at the next level, but nonetheless, they finally found LaMichael James, and he's making a difference on the special teams. We saw what he could do against the Patriots. He helped them win that game. When things looked to be going in the wrong direction, his return single-handedly gave the 49ers back the momentum in that game, and they won it. Also, don't forget Ted Ginn Jr. is still back there returning punts. One mistake on your punt coverage, and Ted Ginn can bust through and make something happen. But all that being said, all that aside, you can put those two together. I still take Jacoby Jones over those guys. Jacoby Jones was made to be a special teams demon. He was made to be a special teams returner. If he did nothing else in the National Football League but return kicks, he'd still be worth the price of admission. And the Ravens got him really as a return man with the possibility of contributing at wide receiver. But they've gotten the best of both worlds because he's contributed at receiver and on kickoff and punt returns. But that's where his bread is buttered. Punt and kickoff returns, and he's dynamic. He's as dynamic as it gets in the National Football League. Give me Jacoby Jones over the tandem of Ted Ginn Jr. and LaMichael James. Check for the Ravens in the special teams department for returns. Now we're talking special teams coverage units. The Ravens just got gashed 2 weeks ago against the Broncos. I can't erase that from my memory bank. I can't just act like that didn't happen. And so off the strength of that alone, check goes to the 49ers. They haven't given up anything remotely close to that. And so I'm going with the 49ers special teams coverage unit. And so that's how it stacks up. You look at these two teams, the tail of the tape, and it's overwhelmingly in the favor of the San Francisco 49ers. So you be the judge. Who's going to win this game? I've said a lot. And it could go either way. We've had a lot of close Super Bowls of late. And that's the way it should be. When you get to the last game of the season, you want it to be a nail-biter. You want it to be a thriller. You want it to be between two compelling football teams that play their hardest and give you a very entertaining game. And we've gotten that over the last 3 or 4 seasons. So let's hope that this is the same thing. I feel like it is. I feel like these are two evenly matched teams. I feel like we're going to get a very good football game. I feel like it's going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes and who gets it done in the fourth quarter. I feel like it's going to come down to the wire. I could be wrong. One of these teams could implode, turn it over 3 or 4 times, and lose this game by 15, by 13, by 10. But I highly doubt it. I think that this is going to be a very competitive game between two coaches who are brothers, who think alike, who are going to coach their brains out, who are going to do everything they can in their bodies to beat their brother. This is going to be a great football game. And I said all of that to say this. It's a touchdown. Throw it up. Want to tackle on this quick? Extra point. You thought I was going to give you my winner, didn't you? I said all of that to say this. I think that the 49ers are probably the better team in this game. And I think the 49ers should win this game. But I think that the Ravens are the more desperate team. The Ravens are the guy that's been backed into a corner. And there's no way out other than to just shoot every bullet that you have in your gun. Nothing to lose. This is it. Lay it all out on the table. Give me what you got. The Ravens are pushing all their chips into the middle of the table. They're all in. The 49ers, on the other hand, they're not pushing every single chip that they have to the middle of the table. They've still got a couple of chips left off to the side just in case this doesn't work out. And I think in the end, that's what's going to push the Ravens over the top. They're willing to sacrifice more to win this game. For Ray Lewis, there is no tomorrow. If my leg hurts tomorrow, I don't care. This is it. For Ed Reed, if I break my leg in this game but I win a Super Bowl, I will take it. I don't know if the 49ers are willing to do that. For Matt Burke, if I never snap another ball after this game because I break my wrist, I don't care. Because I want to win this game. There is no tomorrow. We've seen Anquan Bolden go across the middle, catch a pass, and need facial surgery afterwards. He'll give that type of effort in this game because it means that much to this Baltimore Ravens team. They may never get another shot at this. The 49ers may never get another shot at this. But they are more likely to than the Ravens are. And so, with that in mind, it's tough for me to do this, but I got to go with the Ravens. I just see the Ravens leaving it all in New Orleans, leaving it all in the Superdome. And not saying that the 49ers aren't going to do the same, but I just see the Ravens knowing what's at stake, knowing that, hey, this is it. We may not get another chance. And for guys like Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Anquan Bolden, Matt Burke, there is no tomorrow. This is it. I've been in this league for over 10 seasons. This is it. I'm not going to have many more opportunities to get it done. This is it. I got to make the best of this opportunity. I got to do it. For the 49ers, they're young. They're naive. They think that they're going to be back many more times. And so I just think that Ray Lewis gets this opportunity to ride off into the sunset. I just think that Ray Lewis gets the opportunity to go out a winner. And look, I know the football gods never let things end the way that they're supposed to. But if they let him get this far, I don't see them turning him down now. He's just come too far to not get that all-elusive Super Bowl championship on the way out the door. Not everyone gets to be John Elway and win it on the way out. Most people end up losing and thinking, what if? What if I would have did this? What if I would have did that? Only if I could have done this better. Maybe we would have won. But I don't think Ray Lewis is going to have to worry about that. I think he's going to get to hoist that Lombardi trophy one last time on his way out the door. The Ravens have been knocking on the door of winning a Super Bowl for a long time. And here they are, finally getting the opportunity to do it. And I think they're going to do just that. 29-24. Ravens take this one. And one that comes down the wire. One that comes down to the final play. But I think the Baltimore Ravens get it done in thrilling fashion. And that's it. And there you have it. Your wall-to-wall, in-depth coverage of Super Bowl 47. In the lab room style. Gave you my winner. I've been wrong all postseason. What's to stop me from being wrong again? I can't get out of my own way in the postseason, but I just have a feeling, an inkling about this one. I think the football gods are going to allow Ray Lewis to go out a winner, to go out a champion. We're going to see. Should be fun. I don't have a dog in this fight, so I'm just going to sit back on my couch, cold beverage in hand, and enjoy the festivities. Enjoy it all. The commercials, the halftime show, and the game itself. I'm going to enjoy it all. Take it in. Football fans, this is it. There's no more football after this game. You're on a 6-month hiatus. So enjoy. Take it all in. Soak it all up. Because once it's done, all you have left is combine, is draft, is free agency, all the off-the-field stuff, all the off-season talk. You got to wait 6 months to actually see them put on pads and get after it on the field in between the white lines. Enjoy this game. And that'll do it for this program here in the lab room. Thank you for joining me. There's many ways to contact the show, many ways to view it. I don't feel like getting into that today, as it's been a long enough episode. So just know that in the lab room is everything you need to know. You type it in, this will appear. Now, thank you for joining me. I've said all I needed to say, except have a good one. Enjoy the Super Bowl.